Israel is called the Holy Land because it is the Holy Land. And even though there are many temples and many people try to worship God all over the world, it's generally accepted, I don't know by how many billions of people in the world, that this is the Holy Land. Even the Chinese in the time of Genghis Khan, he asked Marco Polo to bring him oil from the Holy Land. And this is it. This is generally understood by everybody as the place where God is most manifest. This is it, the Holy Land. If I would ask you, why is your mother so important to you? Would you be able to come up with a good answer? And if you do, and you say, well, you know, she takes care of me, she loves me, she feeds me, she dresses me. All of those answers are pale in comparison to the real answer. And the real answer is, I love my mother by definition. My mother is important to me by definition. Why we love Israel, why Israel is important to us, it's above, it's way, way above any simple reason. The real answer is because, just because. Israel is very special. It's very unique. And what makes it special and unique is that it fits the needs of the Jewish people. The Kuzari, written by Rabbi Yehuda Levi, says that every flora and fauna in the world has an indigenous region. And that if you take penguins and you put them in the Sahara Desert, they're not going to do well. And if you put Jewish people in Poland, they're going to contract Tay-Sachs disease. As a result, we're Asian people. We belong in Israel. You have to take Jewish people and put them in Israel. This is our homeland. This is where we thrive. This is where we prosper. This is the land where God and man can meet. This is where we can achieve our goal. The Jewish people are able to be themselves only in Israel. This is a very embarrassing question. And it's always embarrassing when you have to be apologetic and justify. Because the Jewish people are not supposed to be in exile. We were created to live and thrive in Israel. The Bible is very specific. And the whole idea of the Bible is to leave Egypt and come to Israel. But Moses is very specific, and he says, if you do good in the eyes of God, you'll stay. If not, God will oust you. And it says that in the end of days, even if God ousts you from Israel, he will bring you back. So what happened in history is pretty specific in the Bible. God will take us out of Egypt. He'll bring us to Israel. If we're not doing the right thing, he will oust us from Israel. But in the end of days, he will bring us back. Now, when we're at the tail end of history, we see that everything that is delineated specifically in the Bible has come true. He took us out of Egypt. He brought us to Israel. We didn't do the right things in the eyes of God. We were ousted from Israel. And now, in the end of days, he's brought us back. This was a very good question, and it was frequently asked during the Middle Ages when the church and the Islamic revolutions were very successful. But after the return of the Jewish people to Israel and the miraculous establishment of the state of Israel and the miraculous um, success in every way possible. The question is so mitigated that it's wimpy. And you can't ask that question anymore today. Why did God leave the Jewish people? I think the question is now has to be asked to the other nations of the world. How come they don't have such success like the state of Israel? What happened to your God? Did he get old in his old age? Maybe he retired. Maybe he was just living on borrowed time while the God of Israel punished us. We're back, and we're here for good, and we're on a roll, and we're going up in a big way now. Well, just like people celebrate their birthday every year, Pesach, Passover, is the holiday which celebrates our birthday. This is our birthday. And this is the covenant that we have with God. And every Passover, all of the Jewish people go to the temple, the one temple in Jerusalem. And this is the way that we rejuvenate and renew the covenant that we have with God that began on our first birthday. The Kuzari wrote a book answering all of the questions that anyone could ask about Judaism. And there's one question that he doesn't have an answer to. And that's when the king asks him and he says, well, if you believe that you should move to Israel and live in Jerusalem, why don't the Jews move to Israel? And he answered everything except for this one question. And he says, King, you got me. I don't have a good answer for that. And the truth is, the Jews really should move to Israel. Rabbi Yehuda Halevi himself moved to Israel. It was very dangerous. And legend has it that he was killed once he came to Israel because it was so dangerous. Nevertheless, he didn't have an answer. And he said, even if it's dangerous, we should all move to Israel. And we say this at the end of our birthday party, the Seder night, because this is what we believe in. This is what Judaism is about. We belong in Israel. Everyone, all of the Jewish people belong in Israel. Wow, that's such an interesting question. The Kuzari makes a point of the fact that the Jewish people had to leave Egypt and go to the Sinai desert, which is part of Israel, in order to receive the Torah. Because the Jewish people can't receive the Torah in Egypt. We have to first leave the defilement of Egypt, and only then can we receive the Torah in Israel. There are different levels of Eretz Yisrael, and the Sinai desert is not Jerusalem. Jerusalem is not the Holy of Holies. But nevertheless, we receive the Torah once we leave Egypt, enter Israel at the first original level, and then from there we go up and up and up until we finally reach the pinnacle, the Holy of Holies in Jerusalem. I remember when we asked Rabbi Kook, Rav Tzvi Yehuda, this question, I was sitting on the couch next to him, and he turned around, looked at me, smiled, and just said one word in Hebrew, savlanut, which means patience. We're headed there. We're going to get there. We just need patience. The way God works in this world is the physical aspects come before the spiritual. Just like when a little baby is born. Everything that the father and the mother hope and yearn and pray for doesn't appear And you have to wait patiently through the early years and then adolescence. And only when the child grows up and finishes his formal education can we say that he's achieved the beginning of understanding and lives up to the hopes of the parents. The state of Israel is the same way, and that the physical trappings of the state of Israel have to come before the spiritual. And today, Israel is thriving, both physically, and as a result, the spiritual side is beginning to find its proper place. Rabbi Kook has an unbelievable, overwhelming understanding of current events, of the world as we see it today. And to see the establishment of the state of Israel, the renaissance of the Jewish people, and say that the classical texts that everyone has studied in the exile can easily apply to the situation of the Jewish people today, he's overlooking something very major. Something big has happened in the world since the reestablishment of the state of Israel and the return of the Jewish people to Israel. Rabbi Kook illuminates the entire process, explaining what is happening, how to understand and perceive this redemptive process. No one has been so overwhelmingly illuminating as Rabbi Kook in understanding the nitty-gritty of current events. It's very interesting. We find in the Gemara a few different opinions what the name of the Mashiach is. And in the yeshiva of Rabbi Hanina, they thought that his name was Hanina. In the yeshiva of Rabbi Shela, they thought it was Shela. And that every yeshiva thought that their rabbi was the Mashiach. Sounds very similar to Chabad, believing that their Rebbe is the Mashiach. There's one place that Rabbi Shachna writes, and I say his name is Shachna, Shene'emar l'shichnoti drushu batal shama. And that the different rabbis saw themselves as the Mashiach, or the students saw their rabbis as the Mashiach. And it's very possible that each and every one of us has a spark of being Mashiach. And all we have to do is believe in it, nurture it, and bring the redemption. I think that it's actually hard to believe that this is really it, and this is it, and everything that you're learning in theoretical biblical studies is applicable. And yes, Israel is Israel, the Jewish people are the Jewish people, the return of the Jewish people to Israel is the return of the Jewish people to Israel, the redemptive process is the redemptive process. It's actually happening. That's the kind of thing that gives people goosebumps. So if you have a way of just kind of remaining the way things were without understanding that something unbelievably big is happening, it's always the easy way. And I have a feeling that's kind of the back of all of the different ideologies that are trying to sidetrack what's really happening now in Israel. I think that the understanding of the meaning of the Temple Mount to mankind cannot be conveyed in an algorithm or an axiom or an explanation. This is because. I think it's just so overwhelmingly meaningful to all of mankind, and they know that that's the point where God meets man. And that's like such a touchy subject that all of mankind goes crazy regarding anything that's happening on the Temple Mount. But mankind will overcome their fear of meeting God and will be able to once again rebuild the temple on the Temple Mount. Once again, God will reside in his home in Jerusalem within the Jewish people. And once again, man and God will have the contact that they so subconsciously desire.